I'm ranking Fort Worth's most popular areas to live from best to worst based on location, things to do, price, and a bit more. Even though I love each area, you need to know which areas are actually a good place to live and which ones you might want to avoid. Fort Worth can be actually broken up into 5 major rings. First of all, you have the inner ring, and this is really the heart of Fort Worth, downtown, which is dense, fast-paced, and full of energy. And then you have the second ring, which is a little older, character-filled areas just outside the core. The third ring, which is classic, established neighborhoods with more space and a suburban feel. You have the fourth ring, which is quiet, family-friendly suburbs, and then the outer ring, which is rapid growth areas, new developments, big homes, and wide open spaces. Now let's kick things off with the inner ring, downtown Fort Worth and the cultural district, one of my favorite places. The big question is, does living in the heart of Fort Worth come with an insane price tag? Well, it depends. The inner ring is home to Sundance Square, Fort Worth's premier destination for nightlife and fun. It's got something for everyone. You can catch live music in the main plaza or find a hidden spot like the Scat Jazz Lounge, a little classy underground spot for an intimate cocktail. Or you can go for something a bit more lively like Studio 80. It's Fort Worth's premier dedicated 80s nightclub. You won't find better people watching than Studio 80. And then just a few blocks south, massive potential and an ongoing work at Panther Island. This is the area being reshaped by the Trinity River Vision Project. While it's still largely a construction zone, it represents the future of the inner ring. And there's one open pavilion now. This is a outdoor music venue, but there's massive mixed-use development underway and a true urban waterfront feel. Then we've got near Southside in Fairmount. Some places here sit on multiple acres, which is crazy for being so close to downtown. The schools are pretty good. They're public and a mix of private. We'll get to that in a minute. I know people think Tanglewood is just really for the ultra rich, but that's not true. There's some pretty big estates, but there's also some hidden pockets with more normal homes. And trust me on this one, don't write it off just because you've seen the crazy mansions on TV from the Colonial, because that's the area we're talking about. The mix of property types is something you'll also see in some of the suburban areas, which we'll discuss here shortly. Now, hold up for just a second. If you haven't subscribed yet, you're leaving money on the table. All right, so the third ring. We've got the third ring, which is suburban growth, the family areas. We're hitting what I personally think is the sweet spot for most families. And I know the commute's a little longer, but for what you get in the space and the schools, it's actually worth it. I take an extra 15 minutes in the car any day for twice the backyard. So let's talk about Keller. And I'm going to get roasted on the comments, but if you've been eyeing this area, there's some really great schools in that area. Perhaps go nuts, parents go nuts for Keller. And that's how I say it. And you'll find kids actually riding their bikes all over the neighborhoods. There's lots of community things to do happening every single day, every single weekend. You'll be making friends with other families instantly. Keller schools are consistently top ranked in Texas, which is why homes in Keller really fly off the market fast, often within days of listing. The school quality is something that we'll compare that with other areas as we continue through the rest of the video. So what makes Keller so special, how it keeps that small town vibe while being super close to major employers. You know, you're a quick drive from great corporate campuses and the DFW airport. Houses are mostly single family homes built in the 90s and early 2000s. There's some new construction, but not much. Though there's newer things popping up, you know, as we speak. There are plans for new communities. Prices typically start around the $400,000 mark for older homes, but they really climb up from there. Next up, though, is Flower Mound and Trophy Club. And they're blending the real suburban comfort with city perks, giving you diverse food options, entertainment, and housing that won't really break the bank too bad. And these are areas offering alternatives to the fourth ring communities, which we'll discuss in just a moment. So Flower Mound especially packs a ton of restaurants and fun into a real tiny area. Flower Mound's famous for its food scene and events, and the housing is mostly single family properties. There are also some townhomes and apartments pulling in young professionals and some empty nesters, but you'll find some cool pockets of single family homes. And Trophy Club has a little bit more single family homes at a different price point. Good schools and more of a typical suburban feel. It's super diverse culturally, which shows in amazing restaurant options. The Old Town area that's right next to it is Roanoke, which is the restaurant destination capital of Texas. And you want to check out the beautiful perks along the way. Then you have Southlake and Westlake, and these are really established neighborhoods with solid schools and parks. It's perfect for buyers wanting stability, value, and these are areas give you some of the best bang for your buck. If you want really good schools without going broke, and homes tend to be a little bit older, but they're pretty well built, mostly from the 70s and 80s. There are some new construction pockets. You just have to be selective. What I love about these areas is that they really feel settled. The communities are stable, infrastructure works really well, and there's a sense of permanence in the new areas, really kind of have that lack. All the trees are massive. That's a nice touch as well. And the suburbs might seem from downtown like too far off, but honestly, they give you this really perfect mix of space, value, and family-friendly stuff that the inner city neighborhoods really just can't match up with. But are these areas growing fast enough to be good investments? This is where things get interesting, because in a moment, I'll reveal the suburb that's quietly outperforming every other area in terms of appreciation, and it's flying completely under the radar. Let's look at what might happen down the road. Most of these established suburbs have seen a steady appreciation over time, and it's not the crazy spikes you might see in the trendier spots, but consistent growth that builds wealth over time. Then we move on to the fourth ring. So you got the mature suburbs and some new construction in there. You want new construction or hidden gem. These areas have options that you won't find elsewhere. After we cover these mature suburbs, we'll move into the final outer ring where the real frontier opportunities exist. So Northeast Fort Worth has evolved from bedroom community into a serious job center. You've got big companies setting up major campuses. The area has seen stable growth and pretty strong demands. Schools remain one of the biggest selling points, always ranking among the best in Texas. Housing runs the gamut from older neighborhoods to some luxury communities and even urban style mixed use development. The challenge with Northeast Fort Worth is it's pretty much built out. So new housing is limited. This keeps prices pretty strong, starting around $520,000 for older homes and shooting well into the millions for luxury properties. Then you have areas near Alliance. Now, this is the sweet spot as well. And this is seriously flying under the radar right now. It's super diverse with the restaurant scene alone that's really worth checking out. Schools are very solid. All of these tech companies are moving in. You're getting way more house for your money compared to the inner city areas. I keep telling people to check it out before everyone else catches on. Alliance is absolutely the dark horse pick for 2025. I don't care what anyone else says. This area is seriously underrated. The diversity here means the food scene is also exceptional. Even if you haven't had the local barbecue, you've really been missing out. Hutchins is phenomenal, right? In Trophy Club. And those tech jobs just keep coming. We've also got major companies that are relocating. Caterpillar, Charles Schwab, you name it. There's some big names that are setting up shop in North Texas. Major universities are also driving innovation, and highways. You have easy access to downtown. The housing here is incredible value compared to similar stuff closer to Fort Worth. And you can still find solid homes in good school zones starting in the high 300s, which is getting rare in the Fort Worth area. Plus, you're like 15 to 20 minutes to downtown. Then you have Northwest Tarrant County and the lake areas. These are areas growing like crazy with new homes. They've got reasonable prices and the bonus of lakeside living. And the lake areas make for an interesting comparison to properties we discussed at the beginning. These communities have really blown up over the last decade, but still give you relatively affordable housing compared to areas closer to downtown. The lakes let you get waterfront property at prices that would be impossible closer in the city, not to mention there's no lakes. And the lakes have become a major recreation spot with boating, fishing, water sports, pulling in visitors from all over. Houses tend to be newer, with many of the neighborhoods built in the last 10 to 15 years. Newer construction is going nuts with big builders developing massive master plan communities throughout that area. You don't sleep on these areas just because they're a little further out with new homes and steady growth. These areas are climbing, and definitely consider checking them out because if you want to invest or get more space with your family, I've watched these areas transform over the last few years, and just keep hanging tight with me because I'm going to spill some coffee on some of the neighborhoods really might be your smartest move yet. All right, we're going to move to the outer ring, where you pretty much see explosive growth and investment potential, and these are where the next big opportunities are. The outer ring is just blowing up. It's the final ring that gives us the clearest picture of where Fort Worth is headed into the future. So if you have areas past Haslet and Rome, they're going nuts with growth. North Star's moving up that area. There's 10,000 homes planned, ranked as the fastest growing communities in the nation. They have great schools, serious investment potential in these areas. The towns north of Fort Worth are seeing some of the fastest growth in the entire country. What was just farmland really just a few years ago is turning into massive master plan communities all over North Texas. You know, these are amenities that rival some luxury resorts. Schools are excellent, drawing in families, willing to make longer commute for that quality education and community feel. And the area is pulling in young families and empty nesters looking for new construction and the amenities that go along with it. Home prices start in the mid 400s for smaller places and easily hit over $1 million for bigger properties in the premium communities, and is a bit cheaper to get in, but catching up fast as development pushes north. So when you compare these prices to what we see in the inner rings, you can understand why so many buyers are really willing to make the commute as a trade-off. That's what we did when we were young. The areas south of Fort Worth, like Mansfield, that gives you the older homes mixed with new builds, great community access, and growing popularity among buyers looking for value and outdoor things to do. This area is fascinating because it's constantly evolving. Some parts are totally gentrified with prices to match, and while others are changing and really offer value, what ties all this together is being close to major employers. You'll see mid-century modern homes, you'll see old Tudors that have been updated to look brand new construction, then areas pulling all types of young families and empty nesters. What's wild about this zone is it's a total patchwork. I mean, with some spots offering really great value, others that are still developing. So you really need to do your homework because rezoning is a real thing. These neighborhoods don't make headlines like Westover Hills, but really between you and me, they're heating up pretty fast. And I've been watching prices climb year after year. My clients who bought here just a couple years ago are sitting very nicely on some equity. So you should keep an eye out on these areas. Are these neighborhoods going to keep climbing, or are they going to plateau? But we'll see soon enough. If you want that sweet spot of good amenities with room to grow, this outer ring deserves a serious look. But don't get too attached. The neighborhoods I'm about to show you next might completely change your perspective on where you want to live in Fort Worth. Finally, you've got the major road projects, which are driving massive development, opening up new areas for homes and businesses, and powering future growth. This is a huge infrastructure project that is going to completely reshape northern suburbs. The new highway will connect communities from Tarrant County through Denton County, which will create new corridors for developments and jobs. Areas along the planned route are seeing speculative development and land banking as investors position themselves for future growth. Places that seemed too remote a few years ago are looking like potential hotspots. While the outer ring gives you opportunities for appreciation, rapid change means buyers should consider the risk before diving in. Let's not play around. Buying out here really isn't for the faint of heart. It's for the visionaries. It reminds me of Keller 15 years ago, and we all know that how that turned out. But if you have some patience, a bit of pioneer spirit, these areas could be your golden ticket. For us, it was one of the best investments. I mean, if you need everything established and perfect right now, then maybe just stick with, something a little bit closer in. But just being real with you, right? So the potential upside in these areas is massive with growth as it continues as expected. The home prices could see some real serious jumps as amenities develop, communities are built out, and commutes improve with new roads. But there's always a risk when you're on the cutting edge of a development. These areas are definitely the wild cards of Fort Worth. And yeah, they're a bit of a hike, but they're growing so fast, you don't really want to miss out on these opportunities. If you're looking for long-term gains, these places just, they'll become the future hotspots of Fort Worth. You want to know before everyone else does, and that's why we're talking about this and putting this out now. Staying on top of development plans, road projects is really important when you're looking at these outer areas. And again, I'm not just some guy making videos. I literally live this stuff every single day. I've lived in the Fort Worth area for almost 50 years, and I've been in and out of every single one of these neighborhoods. And after calling 3 different areas in Fort Worth home and helping thousands of clients find their perfect match, I can tell you there's really no best neighborhood. Like anything, what's important to you in the current chapter of your life, that's what's important, which is why we always encourage a one-on-one conversation. You can find all of our contact information below or on the screen. And if you're thinking about making that move to Fort Worth, we would be thrilled to help you with your next move to Fort Worth or any of those suburbs we've talked about today. And if you want to know what's a big factor driving all this growth, check out this video on why corporations have moved here and why so many are relocating to Texas. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.